Hello, guys. Welcome to our GRC learning session number 2.
Hi, Konstantin.
And Akil, how you doing? Hi, guys. Hi, Joseph. Hi, William.
Good morning.
Good
Yeah,
morning.
good evening to you, Joseph. All right, we have a few new faces in the room, which is great. I'm happy for that. Let's give the other participants a minute to join. Maybe, I don't remember exactly, but let's see. Maybe 2 more people will join. We'll see. Maybe not. Anyway, I have to inform you that this meeting is being recorded, and I need your consent on that. I need to make sure that you're okay with it. Otherwise, I will stop the recording.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
I'm okay. I'm fine.
I consent, yes.
You good? Okay, thank you. William and Shakil, do you guys want to introduce yourselves real quick? Because you are new to this meeting, but we have already conducted our first session last time and got some introductions from others. Hi, Shika. Good to see you.
Sure. You can go ahead if William doesn't. Do you want
Yeah.
to go ahead or you want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm muted. Sorry, I'm
uh,
muted. Hi, everybody.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah. Hey. Okay, let's start with William. He's showing his camera, his face. Yeah, let's do it.
So, what's up, guys? My name is William Freddy, and I'm currently working as an analyst. I don't think that I'm supposed to say the company that I'm working for.
No.
But yeah, so I just work as an analyst right now, and I guess, shout out to Joseph Harry because he's the one that put me on this. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, thank you very much, Joseph. It's great to see new people here, and I'm happy that we have more and more over time, and I'm hopeful that these sessions will be helpful for everyone. Shakil, please go ahead.
Sure. My name is Shaquille Ahmed. Currently, I am working as a software automation engineer. So I want to do a career transition, career switch to GRC or TPIM, and somehow, luckily, I found Constantine on Reddit, and here I am. I missed the first session, and hope to continue from this point on. Nice to meet you guys all.
Yeah, likewise. Great. So Shika, I believe Shakil is also looking to dig into TPRM. So you guys have something in common here.
Yes.
We'll definitely dive into that topic as we go forward with everything else. Quick intro from my end, whoever sees me first time, I've spent 20 years building software systems, then spent the next chapter figuring out how to make those systems compliant and secure at the same time. I run my own GRC consultancy for mid-market tech companies, and I'm also building a compliance management platform named Full Trust that automates compliance work that nobody wants to do manually. And I'm here because I have systematized what I know, and I'd rather hand you that system now than let you figure it out the hard way. Today, today will give you a real picture of a practical GRC, how practical GRC works. We'll start with that, and we'll start implementing the SOC 2 program for the imaginary organization. So this is what I have in my agenda. I heard something. Okay. We have one more guest.
I invited 2 people. I don't know if they'll be joining us. Yes, that's one of my friends.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you, Shika. So
welcome.
it's Mildred, right?
Yes.
Nice to meet you,
Hi.
Mildred.
Pleased to meet you too. Thank you.
Fantastic. I hope, I mean, we're recording all meetings, so I need your consent on that. And well, but it's, first of all, I want to say a warm welcome to the group. Thank you for joining. All sessions are being recorded and we are publishing them on YouTube channel so we can all review them later and use as a educational material. If you forget something, you could always go back to it. It has a transcript. And I will also try to not forget to send out all the presentation decks that I'm building and some supplementary stuff like policy summaries or text or whatever document templates that we're building together to you guys after the meetings. But if I forget about that, just let me know, okay? So we can catch up on that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and Mildred, could you please give a quick, introduction of yourself, just in a few words, and we'll move on.
All right. So my name is Mildred. Okay, so I work as a customer excellence strategist, and what I normally do is I work with customers more of a consulting based in Microsoft, so sometimes Fortinet. Yeah, so just understanding their estate and what solutions we can pitch in for them. So in terms of background, I have more of a computer science, just that I didn't really practice much in programming. Let me add that. And then I have a cybersecurity background and then also a project management background in terms of education. So I think this is more of a future direction for me to see how I can merge knowledge in cybersecurity with something related to risk analysis. So that's just a little about me. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mildred. And again, we're happy that you're here with us, and we hope that you will find this content helpful in a way.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. So the last time we spoke, and we looked at the GRC program as a whole. It was a lot of theory, right? Although it was actually very much related to my work experience, and what I'm trying to do with these sessions is to give you, the practical examples, share my practical experience. So as you gain your experience, as you learn more elsewhere, please bring practical things and also theoretical things back to me so we can improve all together, because I also want to improve as a GRC specialist, as a compliance expert. And although, it's a never-ending process. We all learn and we keep learning, and this is what will happen. I'm very interested these days in how to properly leverage AI. I made a few attempts in leveraging AI to build, GRC automations, right? In a way, I haven't been successful yet. I'm looking at other people in the companies doing that, so we will all watch for it as well. And it would be very interesting, because everyone is saying these days, right, that AI will replace us. It would be very interesting to see what areas where exactly it will replace us. And I would say it's not replacement, it's augmentation, right? And it's a tricky question about who augments who, whether we augment AI or AI augments us. We don't know yet, but it's definitely not that we're losing our jobs because of that. We're not. If we're gaining more knowledge, become experts in certain things, and specifically if we know how to be accountable for the outcomes of our work, there will be no one else to ask. It's only us, right? So we will still be relevant and needed as specialists. It's been 10 minutes into the meeting, and I would like, we are trying to do a lot today, but so I'll dig into the details right now. what we're doing today, and it is actually based on your ask from the past meeting, we start building a SOC 2 compliance program for the imaginary company that actually we AI has chosen the name Orbis for it, because as you can see, I'm giving AI some guidance on what we want to discuss, but it actually adds some meat to it. I review it, make sure that everything is correct. So AI has suggested that this imaginary company name is Orbis. And let me be very clear with you. Before we can build any SOC 2 compliance for any organization, we need to know something about that organization, right? Without that knowledge, we cannot offer any SOC 2 program. So the first thing that we are starting with today is we're meeting this imaginary technology company named Orbis, and we start learning about it. And our goal will be to get as much closer as we can by the end of this session to building the actual SOC 2 compliance roadmap, the implementation roadmap for this company, okay? And I will try to guide you through the steps that I take usually when I do that. So let's say, because I run my own GRC consultancy, let's say Orbis comes to me and says, hey, Konstantin, we need SOC 2 compliance. And I say, okay, I have this big team today together with me, right? And it's Mildred, Shika, it's Joseph, William, Shakil, Anatoly, everyone. And we will be, we are grouping together to actually start working on your case, right? And this is Orbis. Who they are. They are a B2B SaaS company. They're building a SaaS product, right, that provides employee benefits administration software. It's a web platform from one perspective, and another is a mobile application for the employees. They sell their solution to the enterprises and mid-market customers. They also have the AI layer. They are training their own model on some data of their customers, and they're also providing AI-assisted enrollment or onboarding experience for the employees and for the organizations. So people no longer have to enter data into web forms. I personally hate two things about web and mobile these days, and I don't know if you share that the same feeling with me, but I hate web forms. And the other thing I hate is the user authentication, to be honest with you. With all those complexities around it, it was password in the early days. It was nothing in the early days. Then it was password in the, later. Then it was second factor authentication. Now it's a lot of other different challenges, keys, secrets, passphrases, everything that locks us out of our accounts. And these are two things that I hate. So AI is here to help us, reduce the exposure to those things, at least, or even eliminate them completely, right? And these guys, Orbis, they are doing a great job. I'm sure about that. So the authentication is like, I don't know, face-based, passkey-based, whatever. You don't have to think about it. And then the enrollment is all just, the naturally flowing conversation without any web forms. But of course, it does not relate to SOC 2 compliance. I'm just whining about things that I don't like in the industry. First, let's say Orbis comes to us and they say, hey, we need SOC 2 compliance. So how do we approach it, like overall? What do we know about it? How do we structure our relationship with them? If we even are hired into this organization as a GRC specialist, right, and we're being tasked with the same thing, what do we do? First of all, we need to know who the stakeholders are. This is kind of the very first step in the process, right? And we touched this subject a little bit last time, where we said, okay, we need people on our side, because if I show you this real quick, this is 17 work categories that the GRC team or the compliance officer or the GRC team, GRC specialist, plus all those stakeholders, they all need to work on. It's 17 different work categories. They are related to different fields. Some are the application related, some business related, some HR related, and things like that. So before approaching this big amount of work, or at least multi-aspect, exercise, like overall, we need to have some people by our side, and we need to make sure that we know the stakeholders first, and if we need to make sure that they will be helpful to us while we are helping them navigate compliance, right, with all 17 work categories, or at least they tell us who we should reach out to when we have a particular question or a particular topic that we want to discuss, right? So AI gave me several names here. Let's review them. Rachel Torres, CEO, Marcus Webb, CTO, and he is also a security lead at the time because they don't have a security team. Sarah Kim is a financial officer and the operations officer. So she basically owns the whole business risk category, right? Then we have certain people in engineering, and as you can see, we have 8 people working on the application internals, then 5 working on the user interface, 4 people responsible for the implementation, some on quality assurance, some engineering managers. There is a security engineer, Jordan, right? I didn't expect them to be there, but it's great. So we could rely on them for some code security scanning, right? And for some best practices in terms of implementing security within the application. So at least, as one of the work categories says here, application security, right? I would assume that we can go to this guy, Jordan, right? And actually, they will be very helpful for us to get some clarity on those things. Then we have a product and design department. There is a VP of product, 3 project managers, UX designers, business analysts. The company has sales and marketing. Again, VP of sales and the team. Customer success team, because they're implementing, obviously, their product to the customers. Finance and legal. And oh yeah, I was curious whether we have any HR. But yeah, so there's a VP people. I don't have the name, but we'll come up with the name. We have a legal counsel, and we have the IT administrator, Alex. So if we go back to our work categories here, let's map these to our allies in the process, right? So who will be helping us with the security policies? Obviously, all of them, because security policies are categorized. Some pertain to HR, some are related to the software, the engineering department, some are related to COO or, their area of responsibility. Then business risk management. So we know it's a lady with the last name Kim. The application security will go to Jordan, but of course, we'll also run it through the CTO and make sure that Jordan is the right person to talk to. Compliance testing, we'll leave it for a second. We'll just let it stay. We'll talk about it later. Then we need to do the systems documentation and the security plan. And again, it's all the engineering team because they are from that organization structure. I saw that they are responsible for everything: the development, the deployment of the software. So they will be very helpful in building the system documentation that is needed for compliance. Security monitoring. Okay, it goes back to Jordan again. At least we'll start with him and I saw some DevOps people there. And feel free to stop me at any time here in the process and say, hey, Konstantin, I don't understand this or that role, for instance, and we need to dig deeper into details. So why you're mapping this particular work category to those roles, right? And I will be happy to explain. Then incident response. Incident response is an interesting thing. So it's two categories, the IT, who manages the company devices, right? And everything around, and then some internal systems that the company operates. And then, of course, we need incident response process on the engineering side, like when on the product side, let's put it this way. And also, believe it or not, we need the incident response process on the physical security side. Like as the company has a headquarter, I would insist that it has, because it wasn't in this slide, but I know that it has the headquarter. It's important for us. So the incident response process should actually span all those categories. So it's a product, it's IT, and again, HR as well, because some people can be internal threats to the company, right? So we need the incident response process as well. And I must tell you that 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I don't remember exactly, I was talking to a special FBI agent, I believe, from somewhere, Washington, D.C., because they reported that one of my customers that I work for, that one of their employees was targeted with the phishing attacks. And they've got this intel. They delivered it to us via email. I was very suspicious about that. I mean, the email is just, it could be sent by anyone. I didn't contact them using the phone number that they've specified in the email. Instead, I called their office. I found it on the map, called their office, asked if this special agent really exists. It turned out he does. And we spoke, and he actually informed me that this is a real thing. And he gave me a name of the employee, and I had a conversation with them. So incident response process, you need it. It's a real thing, because you never know where the issue may come from, right? Okay, so IT security. We've seen that there was the IT person, Alex Nguyen, right? This guy, right? He's the IT admin. Then what else? Cloud security posture. Okay, it goes back to engineering. I saw some DevOps there, so I'll talk to them about that. Secure software development process. It's another work category, and this is what I will discuss with the product team and the engineering team together to make sure that they implement their product in a secure fashion. They implement all the necessary security practices. Then the penetration testing part, it's usually being outsourced to the third-party vendor, but the SOC 2 compliance requires that the penetration testing is done on a software that the company develops, and it's done regularly, like every year. And there is a certain protocol to follow, so the penetration test needs to be done. The findings will be provided to the engineering team. They need to remediate them, and the penetration test should repeat to actually confirm that the most critical, high, whatever, medium things have been remediated, and the product is more secure now than it was before. Third-party risk management. Okay, so it's
Constantine, I had a question.
yeah. Oh, sure.
So does this apply for SOC team to be present for the company, or they could just outsource it? Let's say for the for monitoring and all those things. The actual SOC, security efforts or something too. That also needs to be outsourced, just like the penetration testers.
Yeah, so it actually relates to this security monitoring work item, right? Work category.
Okay.
The company can have their own SOC team or SOC infrastructure, and SOC here means Security Operations Center, not the SOC 2 compliance. It does not
Right.
relate. Security Operations Center can be internal to the company or outsourced. But we are, as GRC specialists, we need to actually then apply the third-party risk management practices to that company, where these guys, the Orbis, outsource this activity to make sure that this third party, this SOC center, actually implements security best practices. They don't. And I mean, just because of them, there will be no data breach, no reputational damage to Orbis. Okay, but
Understood.
yes, but yes, the answer is simple. It could be outsourced. Yeah. Personnel risk. Yeah, sure, absolutely. So third-party risk management spans all departments of the organization. So we'll have to work with all those different people and stakeholders to actually manage that properly. Because finance team may subcontract some company to do some accounting for them, right? Legal may, enter into a contract with a bigger, I don't know, law firm to do some, to do some, I don't know, whatever legal procedure. So it's all. Engineering may outsource the software development. DevOps may outsource cloud SRE or cloud implementation, and it all rolls back to us, right? As a GRC specialist, here I'm talking about. We haven't talked about the roles yet, right? We never touched that. We will need to overview all those roles. But what I'm happy about, in general, as we do all, as we go through all this, through this roadmap, through this implementation for Orbis, we will actually build a security practice, the information security department for them. They will get a CISO. They will get, Jordan will find his place in the security department, if you will, right, in the information security department. The other important, as we go through this list, we only have like 5 items left here. It's time actually for us for a very important note or insight, if you will. I'm giving it to you, and I need your help to reconfirm, re-verify throughout your careers, and maybe get back to me and say, hey, whether it was true or not. But this is what many people in GRC coming to the realization that for the company to run a successful compliance program in all those departments that we can see here, there should be at least one person in each department who is cooperating with the information security or GRC team. Because if we build it this way, if we have our ally in every department in the company, then we have a better chance of building the successful GRC program or compliance program, right? Because they will be rooting for us. They will be making sure that whatever work items we have, that they go into those roadmaps of those particular departments, and we can count on them being implemented or executed, right? So this is a very important part of the conversation here. So as you work as a GRC specialist, regardless of your role, make sure you understand that if the company has this structure, it is much, much more successful than when it doesn't have such structure, right? All right. Coming back to the work categories. So the personnel risk management is all HR. department plus the IT in some part and everything, right? Physical and environmental security. Our company has a location and it's a headquarter and it's a small office space, but still it has to be, all those physical controls need to be implemented. So we go back to Kim. Sorry, her last name is Kim, but Sarah, right? We go back to Sarah with all those questions about implementing physical and environmental security, because she is the operations manager, and she will actually help us to find the right people for that task. Vulnerability management is all about it's about managing vulnerabilities on the IT devices, right? On those laptops that the company gives to their employees. It's about managing vulnerabilities in code, the code that the company produces. It's about managing vulnerabilities inside the cloud infrastructure or whatever infrastructure they use to run their software. And when we say vulnerability, it's all about system security patching, right? Proactively installing and running antivirus, implementing security scanning of the code and things like that. The other big work item or category is access controls. Again, access controls is everywhere. It's well beyond IT, well beyond engineering, starting with door locks on our headquarters, then going to implementing proper centralized user management for all our employees, and having some protocols and procedures for how we let contractors and vendors into our systems, right? And of course, the access controls for the users of the application. We have web, we have mobile, all those need to be protected. MFA is a standard right now, so it's always two-factor everywhere, enforced, no questions asked. There should be no even, nobody should even question that. But we will talk about it more as we go through our roadmap. All these 17 work categories will greatly help us build the roadmap for Orbis, right? And the last part here is AI governance. It's I will call it a new thing, but for me, it's not new. And for all of you, it's not new. It's been with us since 2021 or 2022, I believe, when ChatGPT went in public. Before then, it's been a decade of training machine learning models. So many companies are already doing AI for more than 10 years already, right? They may not name it that way, but it was AI already. So AI governance is another work category that we should be paying a lot of attention to. And I will be coming up with some practical examples on how we can approach it. So having said all that, it's been a lot, I know, but let's see if you guys have any questions about what we're trying to achieve here. Let me rephrase. Is it clear of what we are trying to do? And if it is, we can now start reviewing the roadmap and start building the roadmap.
It's clear.
It's clear.
Great. Okay, thank you very much for confirming. And again, Shika, I'm very sorry that it's not yet a practical exercise, that we are not putting together documents or not putting together, some scanners on whatever, or installing software. But it's just impossible without this, prerequisite, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you for that. But let me be very clear. So I'm saying roadmap. The roadmap does not exist without another, or probably the main important piece. We have identified stakeholders. We have looked through our work categories for compliance, right? Overall, this was basically our roadmap in a way. We mapped it to people. We tried to identify who will be our allies working on those things inside the company, right? Now, another important part, and it will be kind of probably the main lens through which we will be looking at compliance throughout the whole journey. We need to build the asset inventory for the organization. We have identified people, we have identified work items. We now have an understanding that they have a product, they have applications inside that product, that they have cloud infrastructure, that they have this many people, they have this many roles, and things like that. All of these are the company's operational assets. The facility, the location, right? The rooms inside that facility, all of them, the devices that they issue to their employees, everything are the operational assets, right? And without building the proper asset inventory, I must say it upfront, it is an ongoing work. You will always be discovering something, and you should be very realistic, understanding that people may never ever tell you about a new asset that they just created. For instance, they created an account in Claude, in Anthropic, and they ordered the API key and they started using it, and they may not tell you about it. You may discover it very late in the game, and it actually affects the compliance posture, and it affects everything. It's like the auditor will ask about it because it may be uncovered during some conversations, and if you haven't accounted for it, you will fail. You will not pass the audit, right? So it's your work. It's our work as GRC specialists. Probably the main line of work is to continuously discover operational assets and build and maintain the asset inventory. Everything else comes after that.
I have a quick question. Sorry to interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
All this process, the whole SOC compliance, the whole process, is there a timeline? Let's say, is it before the company started providing its service, they have to be SOC compliant, or they could just, be in the market providing the service, and at the same time they're trying to become, get the compliance, SOC 2 compliant? Is there such rule that it has to be before they start providing their service, or how does it work?
Very good question. So first of all, I like the fact that you asked this question because of two reasons. One is we are trying to build a GRC program, right? It's important. So it's not necessarily that particular compliance standard that we are talking to. We're just taking it as an example. SOC 2 is an example of how the successful GRC program maps onto a particular compliance standard. Okay? I want all of us to understand that clearly. The other part, what I like is it's a very, very good question, and everyone should ask themselves about, should ask it. There is no timeline per se. There is no hard requirement for many organizations to even be compliant, to even meet any of the regulatory standards. But what started happening lately, like in the course of last 5, 6, 7, 10 maybe years, if you sell your product to a bigger company, or if you provide service to a bigger company, they already have a security department that wants to grill you, right? Reason being, it's a part of the onboarding process. So let's say our Orbis sells their HR management solution, benefits management solution to a big company. Let's come up with a really big name, or I mean, whatever, Microsoft, for instance. They're selling it to Microsoft. And how big is the chance that they will even be accepted as a vendor, right? Let's say they've got good introductions, their product is really amazing, everyone is happy. The Microsoft guy that they were talking to said, hey, good deal, I would like to go with your product. And they send it through their internal pipeline somehow. And people start coming to you. And one of those people will be a representative of the security department, and they say, hey, as you are going through the onboarding process with us as a vendor, you are a third party to ask. We have a third party risk management process. Please tell us, are you SOC 2 compliant, for instance, or are you, what other compliance standards or any compliance standard? Do you implement any compliance standard? What are your security best practices? What is your GRC program? How does it look like? How do we know that you're a trusted vendor that we can work with? And in Orbit's case, they lost 2 enterprise deals already in the past 6 months because of no SOC 2 reports. They don't have a SOC 2 report. A third prospect asked specifically about AI governance. They don't have this program at all. And they are failing to get those contracts. They cannot move forward. They cannot grow. And for that reason, they are establishing a GRC program, although they should have been establishing it for a different reason. And we spoke about it in the last session. They should have been establishing it for a reason because they want to be secure. They want to be mature enough, right? But they are establishing it now because they need compliance. And it comes back to your question, Shaquille, about the timing and the requirements. They didn't have any deadlines for that. Nobody was asking them about it before, but now they're facing it. Now it's urgent for them. But there is no timeline that the government sets for them or whatever. Except if they were a financial technology company like a bank or anything, they would not be able to conduct any business without passing a security review and attesting compliance to a particular security standard, like ISO 27001 or 9001, whatever they are, right? Okay, did I answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the clarification.
Sure. And I'm sorry that my answers are long because I want to give you more context.
That
more
is
practical.
Great. That's actually great.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, so where were we? We were talking about the asset inventory, right? I'll give you an overview of how I look at the asset inventory. And I would ask you or task you, maybe give you as a homework, maybe if you, of course, will have time for it, it's fine if you won't, maybe to find other examples in anywhere in the internet of how people manage assets, how they build this inventory, because it is still a gray area. And I would say that probably the established companies already have it, some good hold of it, but the smaller companies like Orbis, for instance, they don't even have a clue on how to do that. And as a compliance expert, even I myself I have a good understanding of what needs to be done, but how to properly structure it is still work in progress. So let me share a tab of a small app that I've built for myself, trying to approach it. Okay, so I originally saw the asset inventory as a tree, where on top of this tree is a company itself, and then there are multiple categories of assets that could be there, like branches, facilities, departments, personnel, clients, vendors, websites, whatever the company can operate, right? Devices, policies, software products, code repositories, data centers, cloud infrastructures, cloud accounts, blah, 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 blah. It all goes, and and then I say, okay, each asset will go into one category here. Let's say if it's a database, it will go here. It's hosted in, in the cloud. So it's a cloud infrastructure related. It is within the cloud account and it's a database. We are running it here, so we can add that asset under this location. But later I realized it's not a tree, it's actually a graph. Meaning the difference between graph and the tree is that in a tree, a certain object can only be within a certain location. But in a graph, a certain object can be within multiple locations. And let me give you an example. Let's say we have a person working for the company, right? His name is John Doe. Okay, it's a very practical name. And this guy, John, he's working for the company. So he belongs to the personnel section here in the tree. But he is also a branch manager, right? So he's also belongs to the branch, and there should be a people category here as well, personnel. I don't know why it's not showing up, but this guy should be in two places, right? In the branch and in the company. And so the devices that the company purchases and issues to their employees, there is a bigger central inventory, right? So let's say, do we have devices here? Yeah, we do. It's a root level device inventory. But then when device goes into a branch, it also should appear there, right? So it's basically, it's one asset can appear in multiple places, but I still maintain this tree to give myself a way to navigate all those, not all, the majority of those different assets that the company may have. And I need a better visualization for operating this inventory, right? But it's a good starter. So let's for our practical example, let's quickly look at it. So Orbis, a company, may have branches. It also has departments. The departments have job roles. Job roles have job descriptions. There is personnel belonging to the departments. They have job roles, right? Through this structure, we can somehow establish the reporting lines. Who is the supervisor of who is assigned to which job role, right? So basically, the whole organizational structure can go into this tree. Personnel themselves, they have assigned devices. It could be either the desktop computer, the laptop, the tablet, the smartphone, or even, the other types of things like scanners, cameras, whatever, IoT devices, removable media like flash drives, right? Then the personnel category here is it's a repetitive category, and the reason for that is because, as I mentioned, one asset can go into multiple places, right? So now we're looking here at personnel from the organizational perspective, like it's the whole list of people working for this company, right? Then the clients, the whole list of clients that this company works for, but the clients may belong to different products or projects or relate to different product projects, whatever. Vendors, the whole list of vendors that the company works with. And we'll talk more about it later, but vendors are not only like the companies that you work with. Vendor is everything. It could be a third-party information system. It could be a Google Drive. It could be a Dropbox or a ChatGPT they all are our vendors because we work with them, right?
Yes.
Then, right? So
Yes.
then the company websites, whatever websites they operate. It's not, let's not confuse them with the actual application websites. It goes into software products or software projects section, depending on whether the company is a IT product or IT service company. There could be products, there could be projects. Some projects can be internal, some projects can be external. And again, if you look at the product, it also has vendors, clients, end users, websites, right? Code repositories, on-prem infrastructure, server infrastructure, or cloud infrastructure with cloud accounts, with virtual servers, and on all other things, databases, and such and such and such, right? The reason I'm showing you all this is because it should give you a picture of what is the operational asset. It's basically like everything, every small thing in the company is an operational asset. A pen ultimately is also an operational asset if it belongs to a company, and there may be risk associated with it. For us, for GRC folks, it's important that if there is a risk that may be associated with this pen, let's say if it has camera embedded into it, it's a spy camera, whatever, it can scan documents. I mean, regardless of how funny it sounds, right, there are cases, and plenty, when pens are being deployed into the companies and do their job. It's all operational assets. So let me finish with this statement, and then I'm happy to answer all your questions. That what we will be doing throughout the next sessions, if you agree with that, if you're fine with it, we will be building and managing and maintaining the asset inventory. We will map all those SOC 2 controls to the inventory categories, and all the assets that we will create. We will see what are those security measures or controls we have to implement on each asset for it to be considered compliant with SOC 2. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let me go back to the presentation here. Now I'm happy to answer whatever questions you have or ideas, thoughts, anything that you would want to tell us about or ask us about. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I have a question. So I was scrolling LinkedIn the other day and I saw a job role called third-party vendor risk assessment, right? So if we were to be a vendor for like Microsoft, like you said, wouldn't Microsoft have a third-party vendor risk assessment guy who would like assess our company and make sure we are like, assess our risks?
Yes. We will dig deeper into that as we work through these 17 work categories, and one of them is third-party risk management, right? But let me try to give you a quick answer to that question. So yes, they have a third-party risk management department if we are talking about a big company like Microsoft or whatever. And they will assign a group who will actually evaluate us as a vendor, right? And what they will do, they will first come back to us and say, hey guys, if you have any compliance certifications or reports or anything, could you please send us those? So we will, it's like the first round of security evaluation, right? Or third-party risk evaluation that they do on us. If we don't have any compliance certifications, they will say, all right, no issue. We're sending you our security questionnaire. It consists of 150 questions. Please be very thorough. very detailed in answering all of these. And you will spend a good amount of time answering those questions about your company, about your products, about your people, about your processes, like everything. You will send it back to them and they say, okay, fine. They will review each and every question if they are good people assigned at their job and if they're doing their job well. They will find certain, uncover certain issues with your answers. They go back to you. It will be the third round of a security screening, right? They will go back to you and ask you additional questions on those, get some clarity. And if they identify, and basically what they will be doing internally, they will be trying to identify any gaps in compliance or in security in your organization, right? To see whether you are trustworthy to do business with already, or how do you react to those gaps? So they will send you a list of things that they've uncovered. Let's say you are not implementing MFA. Okay, it's sorry for being that, for giving that example, but it's quite common. If you're not implementing MFA in your systems, they would say, okay, you're not implementing MFA. We want you to, because otherwise you will not pass our security screening. In this case, what happens is your security review, this screening, goes into a certain limbo. You should give them a commitment and a time period, a term that you say, okay, we will implement MFA within, let's say, 2 months, or they give us this term. And then it's like you're building what is called, the plan of actions and milestones in different compliance standards. But you're giving them some commitments. They require some commitments from you on closing those gaps. And the security review will either continue. They say, okay, we're fine. They will do it in 2 months. It may continue, and they can even approve you as a vendor if it's not of high criticality for them, right? Or they say, we cannot continue the security review or screening until you remediate that. So it will be one or, either or. Usually, on my practice, the screening continues. People are people. They all understand that you are not ideal. Your company is not ideal. They let you do, execute it within the agreed upon term, a timeline. And if you're doing that within the timeline, then they will. What happens is they sign a contract with you. They start working with you. But if you do not execute upon your commitment, they will stop or pause the contract in the middle. But if you do everything as you promised, everything is just fine and it continues. And they do this security review on your company like every year, because they have to do it regularly on their third parties.
Right. Thank you for answering.
Sure. Any other questions? We still have 2 minutes left.
The security questionnaires, right there. I know there are a lot of terms that flies around. One is those SIG questionnaires, SIG Light, SIG Core, depending on the vendor tier, and the security questionnaire. They're the same thing, or just people interchange those two terms?
Could you please repeat the question again so I make sure I understand right?
So it's the same context. Before vendor onboarding. So they send out security questionnaire. Is that the same questionnaire? Is it the same thing as a SIG questionnaire?
SIG?
SIG Light or SIG Core that has 70 or 130 questions depending on the service that the vendor provides. Let's say if it's a critical vendor, they send the SIG Core SIG
I understand.
Core. Yeah. So is it the same thing when people say that, okay, we have to send you the security questionnaire? Is it the same thing that they're trying to mean that they're going to send a SIG questionnaire?
So let me answer your question this way. There are multiple security questionnaires available in the market that you could take and adopt for your third-party risk management procedures, right?
I see.
And one of them or two of them or three of them are those that you have mentioned. But in my practice, the most common one is VSAQ, Vendor Security Assessment Questionnaire. There is a consortium or some sort of a organization maintaining that. I'll send you the link after this meeting. So companies either adopt whatever market offers, or they come up with their own. And the trend that I see nowadays is that companies are trying to come up with their own because everyone is tired of 300 questions in the questionnaire. It's misleading. It's misleading most of the time. Let's say you are a service company and they're sending you the questionnaire for the product company or things like that. So they are trying to become more educated and more smart in that manner. And when they say they, it's actually us, the GRC specialists, the security specialists who are doing those screenings on third parties.
I see. Okay. Thank you so much for clarifying it.
Yeah, no worries. And we will review some. Yeah, it is. And we will review some of the approaches to how to structure this questionnaire, how to make sure that it's minimal, but still doing what's supposed to.
Awesome.
All right. Yeah, sure. And we are at time. I really hope that it was helpful. What I would like to ask from you guys is to give me consent to publish this session in YouTube. Maybe you could send me a reaction, like a thumbs up or whatever here in chat. The other thing is what I would like you to do, if you will have time for that, thank you for your consent. Please send me one to three things that you found most interesting or important from this meeting. So, you know, when I build some educational materials, like maybe a course on GRC or anything, I will take what was the most interesting and important into that course rather than everything that we have just discussed, because we had a free discussion, you know, on everything. And we're more colleagues here, like we're in a setting that we can drink beer, wine, or whatever, and just freely talking about these things, you know. But when it comes to the educational stuff, I have to be more conservative. And again, thank you very much for your time. Please bring more of your colleagues, friends, whoever wants to learn GRC. I'm so very happy to see you all, and I wish to see you next week, and let's keep in touch over Reddit and whatever other meetings that we have. Okay?
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend.
Have a
Thank you,
good
guys.
day.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.